I do not like playing War Thunder. I like making videos for YouTube using War Thunder, but I don't like playing War Thunder. This game is one of the worst games, buggiest pieces of shit I've ever played in my life.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head? G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to another episode of What the Bloody Hell have Gaijin done this time?
This has to be one of the worst patches for balance that the game has ever seen.
When it comes to how the War Thunder player base views the game, it seems that people are frustrated now more than ever. Despite Gaijin's efforts, including the recently created It's Fixed series of devlogs, many feel that nothing ever changes.
War Thunder has had hundreds if not thousands of issues over the past 8 years.
I hate the whole problem with
War Thunder's problem.
Needless to say, I'm quite familiar with the word compression. And on the other hand, I would love to be a bit more familiar with the word decompression, which we've been asking for years and have simply not received.
It would be an understatement to say that War Thunder has some problems.
It's hard to be positive about War Thunder when everyone around you is talking about the things that War Thunder could be or has the potential to necessarily convey. Necessarily, though, War Thunder tends to be one of these hot takes, and generally speaking, not a lot of people have a lot of positive things to say about it. And I've often been called out for doing negative type videos. Okay, I'm guilty of it. I've got quite a number in, or at least my video catalogue of problem type videos. But why is it such a problem now? Well, as Tankenstein goes on to explain,
the topic of this video, as you may have guessed based on the title, is the immense amount of problems that people in the community feel that War Thunder has that really just aren't big deals. I won't name names because many of the YouTubers that do this make tons of quality content and oftentimes have many good points, but you can just search War Thunder problem for yourself and find tons of videos on things that are largely blown out of proportion for views.
now okay, you could say that is basically true. However, there are distinct issues, and variably so, most people have expressed that frustration one way or another. It's popular for us content creators to ride that wave of immense popularity because that means the YouTube algorithm will favour us and such, actually recommend content to you. It's easy to be negative about things, that's just human nature. It is very hard to be positive about things. But today, we're going to change that perception. I disagree with Tankenstein's initial concept of at least because it gets views, you know. YouTube as a platform basically strives from negativity. Anything negative that happens blows up way out of proportion than it possibly needs to be. It's drama, it's clickable, it's relatable, it is something you can go, oh my god, what is happening within this particular sector or this community? That's exactly what goes on. It's a cycle that perpetually feeds itself based on people's, I guess, negative connotations. When you feed that into War Thunder, yeah, there are a fuck ton of problems with the game, and as I've said countless times, this is a perfect quote from me, War Thunder is a War Thunder problem. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, the official definition for negativity is the expression of criticism or active pessimism about something. Now, positively, on the other hand, as opposed to negatively, is essentially, in a positive way, especially expressing optimism or agreement or acceptance. And in that way, it indicates the presence of a certain substance or condition, and with certainty as so leaves no room for doubt, and was used to emphasize that something in this case, even though it may seem surprising, it is entirely positive. Now, in the connotations within War Thunder, that could mean multiple different things. Is it a positive change that they have changed elements of the game to feature more content? Or have they misidentified the many key factors that make up the many vehicular-based combat game that this is, and basically thrown it out the window? See, there are multiple occasions when this comes into play, that War Thunder as a free-to-play title is possibly one of the best early entry, level entry games that gets you out there and into more mainstream sort of simulators. It's a fantastic game if you want to call it an arcade simulator, because it allows you to explore different aspects of World War II, and obviously beyond just the World War II, but into late Cold War as a game and for free. That concept is mind-boggling. The fact that there are so many vehicles in the game, it's probably the reason and the single reason why we keep coming back, because there's no other game like it. We love this game. And I wouldn't say we hate it either, but a free-to-play title has its fair share of criticism and its hate. They've got to make their money in order to stay afloat. How much ethical, questionable, and moral decision points is there in that, I don't necessarily know. But look at the example of the KA-50, probably one of the worst additions to the game in a very long time. But look at the Harrier, again, another potential risk of, I guess, many, many issues. And I hate to say it, but War Thunder's community as a whole isn't as toxic as one would lead to believe. As a community, we're fairly alright. We've got our odd bunch every now and then, every community has them. But for the most part, compared to a lot of other communities, this is probably one of the best communities. When when times get really tough, we all tend to band together and come together for a nice wholehearted fuck you, Gaijin. Because essentially that's what's needed in times of real optimism. For me, the game is basically dead. I haven't felt a thing since 2015, but why do I keep playing? Good question, I have no idea. Honestly, I've been playing less and less War Thunder as the years go by, but I still come back to this game because it is fun. Honestly, when you cut down the bullshit, when you don't focus, and when you put on a chill song and you play the game, pop it open, this game is incredibly relaxing. And when you put a community behind you, and when you talk about current issues, or when you speak about or just have a bunch of fun, there are people there willing to join you and willing to make the deplorable game state that this is in into something better. It's because of the community, isn't it? The community bands together, the community keeps the game alive, and the face of those communities, typically content creators and wider community members, it is our job to really point out the bullshit when it happens, and it is also our job to express disappointment in certain changes. That's just how an opinion works. Everyone has them, you don't have to follow them. You know, whether X issue is a problem or not doesn't necessarily affect the outcome or your enjoyment of a video game. That's the key here. This is a video game. I could have stopped playing War Thunder years ago, but I haven't. Why? Because I've invested a great deal of time, effort, and I enjoy interacting with the wider community here. And it's unfortunate we have to use tools like, for example, the silliness or changes within the game in order to generate viewership for some of the channels. There are fantastic amounts of content creators out there producing phenomenal stuff, and sometimes it just flies completely under the radar. Have you considered how good the performance is for a free-to-play title? It runs on basically any potato, and it performs pretty decently well. The updates that they continually do to the engine make it so that this game is incredibly accessible through crossplay with the consoles onto different versions of computers, Linux and obviously the Windows and PC platforms. The ease of access compared to many other titles with their various server regions and locked sort of titles is really fantastic. I can go, and despite my 300 ping, play with someone from Europe or play from someone from the States with no real issue, and we can play the same game, and we can play, I guess, a few matches in whatever we like. There's enough game modes and variety for everyone here. Despite that also being a downfall, there's a heap of game modes, there's a lot for people to do, and that is really, really interesting. And I guarantee you that every content creator that you know plays this game because of their community, because of their input towards the game. Hell, that's half the bloody reason why I'm here. And I'm sure that most of the other content creators would agree. Because as a collective, this game's fantastic. It's got great sound design, it performs well. You can play with people from across the world. The variety of game modes and choices, and it looks, sounds pretty okay. Sure, there are balance issues. Sure, there are many, many other things. But from the core concept of the game, despite us all hating the fucker to absolute death, there's a little bit of us that at least loves it just a tiny little bit. And I will admit it has its issues. But it in itself is a fantastic product if you're looking for a free-to-play vehicle-based combat shooter or vehicle-based combat arena. This is the game for you. Really, it's got it all. The history nerds will love it because where else do you find such high-definition models and such high-quality models? of vehicles that represent a time, place, and history. And that in itself is one reason why you should at least try the game. And turning that negative, or that net negative, into a positive is a big reason why it's so important that you just take the game as a casual experience, or at least treat it as such. Like to also mention, sorry for using those content creators as an example at the start of the video. They are all fantastic blokes, there's nothing against them at all. Like, dislike, I don't care what the bloody hell you do. I'm going to see you in the video soon. Anyway, my name's Ash, catch you next one. Cheerio!